T into the drain, and then here's the drain coming out. This will go to your sewer to connect up however your city requires. Some require air gap, some require a P-trap, some require a wet P-trap. Whatever your city requires is where this will go. Most of them will adapt up to a 2-inch line and then go to sewer. Alright, again, we just want to show you the trail of the water. The water comes out of the bottom of the tank, goes into this T, and goes back to the filter. It also sucks water from the skimmer into that T and of course to the filter. This valve right here, the purpose of this valve, if you have a skimmer on your baptistry, the purpose of this valve is to pull surface water off of the top of the tank to get any floating articles that might be, or dust that might be on the water. You adjust this according to however much you want to suck off the top. In other words, you might want a lot of suction off the top if you have a lot of surface dirt, or you might just want to have a little bit. If you leave it wide open, then it's going to basically reduce it to 50% top and 50% suction off the bottom of the tank. That's up to you, whatever you do. While you're servicing the unit, like you're changing the filter, you must shut this valve, and this one off, because this one is attached to the body of water itself as well. So you're basically shutting off 3 valves while you're servicing the unit. When you're through, then you open up this valve, and this one to whatever degree that you want. Okay? Here again, coming off of the suction, going through a T, coming over to a cutoff valve. If you want to drain the tank, you have to open this valve like that. That will drain the tank. When you're through draining the tank, then you shut that valve off. Now, we come past the cutoff valve and we put a T. The reason why the overflow has to be past this cutoff valve is because if the tank overflows, you want it to go to sewer unrestricted. And so this overflow valve is plumbed in past the cutoff valve so that it can go to sewer. Okay? On this particular unit, this will show you how we have plumbed the water. This has an auto level control. Some of the units that we sell are built-in auto level controls. Whether they're added on like this one or built in, they're still plumbed the same way. The control is plumbed into the tank. Usually this is on a side deal right here, but this tank was too small for that. Anyhow, this feeds the water. This goes to your water supply. The water comes in here, gives you pressure to your auto level control, and also gives you a valve right here that you open if you want to fast fill the tank. This will only be open when you're fast filling the tank. Then you'll shut it off. We put a lever valve on there so that it's very fast to shut off. So when you get through, you can just shut it off like that. This valve here, you will need to adjust. You do not want your auto level control to be wide open. And so you'll adjust this to get about half, light to half flow on this water, just enough to put water in there. This goes to your water supply, and somewhere between here and your supply you will put a cutoff valve, so in case you someday have to service this, you can shut it off. Alright, now we're going to connect up the electric. Connect up the electric, you can take these screws off in the front. You don't lose them, put them aside, and take this faceplate off. Now, we're only hooking up electric temporary on this for testing purposes. You will hook yours up on this side here with a flexible conduit coming from your hard wiring. And in this flexible conduit, you'll have both 2 number 8s to feed the heater. You'll have a number 12 white, a number 12 black, and you'll also have a ground wire, and your electricians may want to put a machine ground to ground off of this. This, as I told you, we're doing this temporarily only for testing and also to show you how to connect it up. Okay. As I said, this is only a temporary wiring. You do a lot neater job and a lot better job than that if you're going to put permanent wiring in. We've only put this pigtail in just for testing purposes and also to show you what we're doing. The 110, the positive side, the black, or whatever color you're using, will go in on the top side. You'll notice the smaller black wire up here. Just simply match that over here with your 110 positive lead. The negative for the 110 of the common matches the small wire down below on this side. The top and the bottom is your wiring for the control and the pump system. The heavier wire that is in the middle, which you're matching 110, 110, is going to be for the heater only. So this is the way you would wire it up, and then of course later we'll show you more. Thank you. As we told you earlier, we're going to show you how to take the silicone off of these fittings. Remember what I said, try to leave it for at least 3 hours. 3 hours is kind of the magical number. This has been on a little longer, so it's going to be a little harder. And just take your knife and very carefully cut right around the edge of the fitting, just like that. Careful not to slip and scratch your baptistry. Then take your putty knife and just cut underneath it, just like that. Under here, just kind of slip it underneath there, like that. Comes off in a ring. Sometimes you have to just do a little bit extra. Like I said, this has been on there for a longer period of time, so it's going to be a little tougher. That'll come right off. It's like a gasket almost. And then you can take your putty knife. If there's a little excess, just carefully take your putty knife, scrape off that excess, and that's it. If you have any residue from the tape that you put on there, just wipe it off like Tim's doing. Make sure it's good and clean. And then we will put the grate on here for this. Make sure you put the round part down. Put your 2 screws in. Put the control in. First thing you want to do is turn it over. Take your roll of plastic tubing and take the 2 ends and stick one end on each of these little tabs right here. Push them down as far as you can. Then take and cut the little band that's holding your control wire. And stretch all that stuff out. And stick it down through the hole. Now, once you get the control ready to go in, take this little blue piece of plastic off here, off of the stick tape. Just simply pull on it, it should come right off. Make sure your control is in the right direction. The LED numbers should be over here on the right reading. The thermostat dial should be here and the button should be towards your stomach. Just put that in the hole. Before you push it down, make sure it's like you want it. Once you get it there, it's going to stick. And just take it. It should be stuck. If you want to put these screws in, it's not necessarily needed, but if you do, drill a very small hole. One of the problems with these is if you don't get that hole just the right size, they will break off in the fiberglass because there's no give to the fiberglass. Which means that you've got to drill a hole just a little bit less than those threads. Now we're going to do it just to show you. Okay, we have put one screw in. We use an 1/8 inch bit. We're going to go ahead and drill the other three. Once you get them drilled, a little tight, take your drill back and wallow the holes just a little bit, because you don't want to break those screws off in there. That's going in there just right. Okay, then real carefully, make sure you wipe that clean. Take your label. Now this label has a protective coating, another little thin coating on the outside. If you're going to be doing painting, finishing, I would leave that label on there till you're finished. But to put the label on, alright, now carefully peel this backing off of the label. Try not to get your fingers on it. And stick your label down with one edge into the groove. Make sure it's balanced from one side to the other and also against that ridge. Then just simply put it down like that. Now, if you're not going to paint, then you go ahead and take off your inside label, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. There it is. Peel that off, and you're finished with that. Then take your little dial, your little button, temperature button, turn it, and go ahead for now and turn it up to about the third to the last notch. That should be pretty well 92 degrees. 92 degrees is what we have found to be the best working temperature for a baptistry. If you get it over 92, it feels warm. If you get it under 92, it starts to feel cool or cold. So 92 is where you want. You have an LED on here that's going to tell you your temperature so you can adjust it accordingly. Alright? Okay, first of all, with your system comes a complete instruction manual. In here it should tell you just about anything that you need to know. You can also refer to this DVD as far as some of the instructions as well. The normal level for a baptistry is even with the top step. As you can see, the water is right here. This will give you just a one suction opening above the water line, and it will be below your overflow. So this manual is available to you for whatever that you need to refer to. Your system also comes with an extra filter. These filters are to be changed out every 6 months. Very simple to do. You just simply shut off your 3 isolation valves, the ones with the gray handles, and open up your black, or open up your red 1/2 inch valve, and then the bleeder valve on the filter, and in just a matter of minutes you can change out this filter, take the dirty one out, and then take it to a hose and just take a water hose with a pressure nozzle and just rinse as much as you can get off of that filter both ways like this. Then get you a 5-gallon bucket and fill it up with water and set your filter down. Now naturally in most of your buckets the filter is going to be longer than the bucket is high. And so what you're going to do is you're going to fill it up with water. You're going to take 1/3 of the filter clean, that's 1/3 of this bottle. That will be enough for almost 2 years of operation. And pour 1/3 of this into the bucket of water. Then you will also take this Spa 56, the little red label, and you will take and put just a pinch. And when I say a pinch, I'm talking about as much as the end of my finger of this in there, and that will help to kill any algae that might be resident in the filter. Let that soak for 12 hours. After 12 hours, keep track of which side was up. Take the hose, rinse it off, turn it over, put it back down in the water, soak it for another 12 hours. Now we're not going to, you don't have to be fussy on the hours. If it's 10 hours or 14 hours, it's not going to make any difference. When you get through, take and rinse that filter as much as possible, then just set it on top of something and let it drip dry. After it's dry, then it's ready for use. These filters should last you about 15 years if you take care of them, unless you have a calcium problem. If you have a calcium problem in your water, then you need to contact us. We'll send you information by email and tell you what you can do about that. Now, with your water, first thing you're going to do is you're going to put in 1 capful of what is called super blue. Sometimes it might be labeled Robo Blue. There's 2 different brands. Take the little seal off the top of it. It's not always the easiest thing to do. And pour in a capful into the water. 1 capful. Now, you'll do this with new water or anytime you change the filter. Otherwise, you don't use this. Remember that. New water or changed or new filter. Just simply take it, put it in the water. It doesn't look like much, but that will turn your filter from a 10 micron to a 1 micron filter, which will give you just super polished water. Remember to use that every time. New filter, new water. Alright, next thing you do is measure the pH of the water. For a baptismal tank, the best pH is a 7. On most spas, pools, you run 7.4. We don't recommend that in the baptistry. You run a 7.4, there's issues that are going to develop that we're not going to get into right now, but just believe me when I say that you should run it at 7. As close to 7 as you can. Try not to get below it. Try not to get above it. You'll have to test your pH as often as necessary. Sometimes people have what they call pH bounce. If you have a lot of pH bounce, you may have an alkalinity problem. And if that's the case, you may have to take your water down, have it tested, and balance your alkalinity. I'm going to put 5 drops in the red side, in the pH side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to shake it up, and I'm going to look at it. Now, this is city water coming right out of the city pipes. My pH is running way high. It's running above 8.2. What a lot of people don't realize is chlorine is absolutely dormant and will not work at all. It just sits in the water with a pH over 8.2 or 8.4. So, what do I have to do? I have to get that pH down. Now, never put this stuff in without your system running. Okay? Because if the acid falls into a particular spot, it could actually blister your fiberglass. So, with your system, we furnished you spa up and spa down. That's for the pH. If it's low, bring it up. If it's high, as this is, bring it down. You can put a lot of the up in, it won't make much change, but it doesn't take much of the down to make a lot of change. Now, since I'm up at 8.2, and I want to go down to about 7, I'm going to find that probably it's going to take at least a capful to bring it down that much. Now that is the most I would ever put in at one time. When you put it in, try to scatter it, and then let the pump run for a while. Don't put anything else in it until you get your pH right. If you put the shock in there, it's going to change your pH. It's going to bleach out your kit. You don't want to do that. You want to get your pH right first. So we'll let this water run for a while. We're also going to go ahead and put the heat on and let it be heating. And we'll test the heating and the filtration, pH, everything all at one time. So that's all we'll do for right now. Okay, now that we have our pH right, and we're testing right at 7.0, we're going to put our test kit away. And now we're going to put in the shock. Now, I want you to understand a few things about the water. First of all, the bubbles that you see coming up here are ozone. We have a solar generator on here that is converting the oxygen that is in the air, converting it over to O3. O3 is 100 times more powerful than oxygen in purification, or oxidation as they call it. 3,125 times more powerful than chlorine. So you don't need chlorine to keep the water pure. However, you can't see it, but coming in through the air are seeds that when they get in the water turn into what is generally known as algae. Algae is a term which basically speaks of aquatic vegetation. There's a multitude of kinds of algae. Mustard algae is one of them. Algae feeds off of carbon dioxide. That's where it gets its fertilization. That's what makes it grow. Because of the fact that this water is super ozonated and super oxygenated, in other words, when this ozone loses its charge from the solar generator, it reverts back to oxygen, giving you very, very high oxygen content in the water. So basically what that translates into is that there is little, if any, oxygen, or I should say carbon dioxide, in the water for the algae to feed off of and grow. But you and I both know there's times when the water is sitting here, the machine is not on. You will have probably 6 to 7 hours a day when the machine is not running. And so you have that remote chance that the algae could start growing if it picks up a little carbon dioxide in the water. So to prevent that from happening and keep you crystal clear water, we ask that once every 2 weeks. Now remember, no more often than once every 2 weeks. And the purpose of this is not to purify. The purpose of this is to kill out the algae seeds, or poison them, if you want to use that term. Now that sounds terrible, you know, say, my goodness, I'm putting poison in the water. Well, you're drinking it in your tap water every day, okay? So, what you want to do is put in approximately a teaspoon, depending upon the size of the tank, but you would never put over a capful of this in even a very large tank. This is super concentrated and works very fast. When you put this in, just scatter it in with the system running. Let it run for at least 5 minutes after you put it in. What that's going to do is mix it through the water, and it's going to kill out any kind of algae growth that has started. Once you do that, you should be fine. In just a few moments, we're going to show you how to set the time clocks and to establish what we call normal routine runtime. All right, thank you. Okay, first of all, make sure that your rocker switches are all the way in on the right. There's 3 positions for them, which are manual positions. You do not want that. You want them all the way over on automatic position. Second of all, the top clock is for purification. You want to set the time of day that it is. Right now, it's 2:20 in the afternoon. So I'm going to set 2:20. Okay. Now, I want this system to run 3 times in a 24-hour period for 20 minutes each. Each one of these tabs is 20 minutes. I want it to run at a time when we do not have service and when it's not going to be objectionable to anybody. So first of all, I'm going to pull 1 tab at midnight. Then I'm going to pull 1 tab at 7 a.m. Actually, we'll make it 6 a.m. And I'm going to put another tab at noon. Actually, we'll make it 1 o'clock. So it's going to run at midnight. It's going to run at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to run at 6 a.m. in the morning for 20 minutes. That's going to give me enough time to filter the water, purify the water, kill all the bacteria in the water, and have it nice and clean all the time. The second thing that I'm going to set is the red clock, or the bottom clock, and this is the clock for the heating system. First thing you have to do is find the day, and this is Tuesday today, and I'm going to set it for 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Now that clock is set as far as being set to the right time. Now I'm going to want to run, just as a scenario, I want to run this for Sunday. I want it ready for Sunday morning. So I'm going to set it to come on at 6 a.m. for 3 hours. I'm also going to set it to come on 1 time before the evening service at 7 o'clock or at 6 p.m. to just touch the water up for Sunday night. Okay? Now, Wednesday, which is right here, I'm going to have it come on 4 o'clock in the afternoon for 3 hours. Now, this system is going to cycle off when it gets to temperature. 3 hours is the maximum time under any condition that it would ever take to heat it if it was freezing cold weather. So, by setting 3 tabs, that's going to give me ample time where I won't have to be changing it from summer to winter. So this is set now to come on at about 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, and it will shut off somewhere around 6. If need be, it'll come back on and touch the water up before service. Then, Sunday morning, it's going to come on and have it ready by 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. And it's going to touch it up again about 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. That's what we call routine. This clock is going to, every day, 7 days a week, is going to run the system and purify the water. This clock is only going to heat whenever it's called for. If I want to shut the system down for any reason, I shut this switch off. That will disconnect all power to the unit, including the 220. Turn it back on, you'll see the red light. Now, when I want to heat, I want to shut this temperature control here off. This is an auxiliary temperature control, which is only for emergency uses or in case something happened to the control, but you want it off. Whichever thermostat is set higher is the thermostat that's going to control it. Now, we're going to relocate back up to the control up here, and I'm going to show you what to do. Now, let me just say this before we go. If for some reason the heater shut down, it could possibly be that a rag got on the suction, or something happened to disturb the flow temporarily. If that happens, it's going to kick the reset out. If that happens, push this reset button in